Hey, it's Mo Egger. If you love college basketball as much as I do, then you will love Long Necks. The 4K TV setup is awesome, and by the way, the sound is always on for the big games. And if you tried the wings at Long Necks, you owe it to yourself. Plus, no place in Northern Kentucky has a better beer selection. There's 3 locations, Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood. Each one of them very easy to get to. Each one of them with a great outdoor setup for when the weather gets warmer. Long Neck Sports Grill. Stay late. Come often. We've done this since August, talking injuries, and we did a lot of NFL during football season and a pretty specific baseball focus here recently. We do this with one of the experts at OrthoCincy. OrthoCincy has specialists and locations all across the tri-state, and they offer walk-in orthopedic urgent care during the week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can learn more at OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. Dr. Adam Metzler is with us. I want to ask you about Hunter Greene. Hunter Greene, the franchise, if you will, came out of his start on Monday after taking a comebacker off of his shin. The exit velocity on the ball hit back to him was 97 miles per hour. Now, the good news is after the game, the x-rays were negative, which is terrific. The bad news is they've had to move back a start, and a tibia contusion sounds painful. What is a tibia contusion? And when you suffer an injury like this, what are the immediate treatments?
Yeah, essentially it's the shin bone. The tibia is the shin bone, and contusion means a bruise. And so the one thing about the shin area is there's not a lot of soft tissue, not a lot of layers, if you will, between the skin and the bone. And so when you take a hard structure like a baseball and you get a liner to that area, and it just goes right, hits that bone and just bruises the bone. So that shin, that tibia contusion is a shin bruise, a bone bruise. And you can imagine the force that hits that leaves a nice, good mark on the skin and in the bone. So it's like, when your brother punched you real hard in the arm and made your arm go numb a little bit. At least my brother did back in the day. It hurts. It hurts for a while. And those bone bruises can hurt for a couple of weeks. I don't imagine him missing too much time, get him on some anti-inflammatory, get an ice, some therapy. I imagine he'll be back in the next lineup as long as he feels comfortable on the mound. They'll put him out there. They don't want him getting hurt for other reasons. But once he's comfortable, I noticed they mentioned that his velocity was down a little bit. That's probably because he just couldn't plant or land on the leg or push off as hard as he wanted to. But, a couple of weeks, he should feel pretty normal. But they do take a while sometimes to feel normal. And the bone has to heal. It's got to resolve that bone bruise.
Yeah, I've banged my shin. We all have. I've been kicked in the shin in playing sports. I've never taken a rocket off a major league hitter's bat, and so yeah, it lingers. But it's one thing for somebody like me. It's something else for a professional athlete who relies on his legs like Hunter Greene.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you find it. I don't want to feel a 100-mile-an-hour ball, softball, baseball, whatever, coming off my leg either. But he's a tough guy. Great to see him sign his extension. So excited to have him with the team for a while, too.
No question about that. I want to ask about another pitcher, Connor Overton, who not off to a great start on the mound, and maybe elbow issues are a reason why. They have sidelined him with an elbow sprain. Give me an idea of the range of possibilities we could be talking about with him.
Yeah, it's really a very generic diagnosis, and a lot of times they'll do that to sort of protect the athlete. Sounds like in spring training he had a little bit of an issue, kind of an injury there, and it's kind of nagging. He's not getting the ERA down where he wants it to be. Elbow sprain/strain is very generic. It can, usually in a pitcher we're talking more along the lines of ulnar collateral ligament inflammation, irritation. Sometimes those can be acute ligament tears that require Tommy John surgery. And sometimes they're more chronic, kind of slow tearing that may require surgery in the off season. And many times they're just inflamed. Many times the ulnar collateral ligament's just irritated from the kind of the torque the elbow sees when you throw high velocity, as you do at the professional level. So more likely than not, he's dealing with a little bit of ulnar collateral ligament inflammation. And it's one of those things that can nag for a short period of time, like, tennis elbow, or sometimes it can nag for a long time. And especially when you're throwing that hard. So he's probably dealing with a little bit of ulnar collateral ligament inflammation.
Dr. Adam Metzler from OrthoCincy. Go to OrthoCincy.com. I want to ask you about one more Red. Spencer Steer fielding a ground ball on Sunday, injured his quad. The word has been day-to-day. The MRI they did after the game on Sunday was negative. And so hopefully he is back and active and in the lineup again soon. Dealing with a quad issue. What are some of the immediate treatments that get done when an athlete suffers this sort of injury?
Yeah, so a quad tendon rupture is vastly different than a quad muscle strain. Quad tendon rupture is a surgical problem, and in this case, this is more of a muscle pull, like a hamstring pull. You stretch the quad muscle. The initial thing is we're likely still going to get an MRI to make sure there's not a complete tear of the muscle. But the more mild the muscle strain or sprain is, the quicker the athlete will be able to get back to play. But initially, you're going to get an MRI, you're going to get them in some physical therapy, focusing in on initial decrease in inflammation with anti-inflammatories, stretching, and usually icing. And then as the injury starts to heal, you may move on to the more kind of heating modalities, stretching, maybe some ultrasound just to kind of keep the muscle fluid. We'll start off with low-level non-impact activities, like initially get them on the recumbent bike, get some motion of the hip and the knee, and then get them up to the upright bike, then elliptical, then jogging. And that's a progression that can happen at different timelines for each athlete. So the quicker they progress through those protocols, the quicker they can get back on the field. But you still got to allow that muscle to heal, which can take a couple weeks sometimes.
The weather has turned for the nicer here midweek, but earlier this week we were talking about, the Reds were playing a game on Monday. The temperatures were in the 40s. Is that a factor at all for somebody like him?
Yeah, the reality is in baseball, there's certainly some downtime. You're sitting on the bench, and so it's a little harder to stay stretched out maybe than some other sports that there's constant motion too. And so I think it does play a role where the muscles get tightened up and get cold, and so we want to keep mobile and keep agile and keep stretched out throughout a game. And it's a little harder to do that in baseball. So I do think there's a role of temperature in these injuries.
Terrific stuff. Great insight as always. We'll do it again soon, Doctor. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me on. Always appreciate it.
You got it, Dr. Adam Metzler from OrthoCincy.com. I say this all the time. What I love about OrthoCincy is they've got specialists and locations all across the tri-state, including walk-in orthopedic urgent care during the week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Edgewood and Eastgate. It is easier, and it goes without saying, much cheaper than going to an ER whenever you have an urgent orthopedic injury. Go to OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. Hey, it's Mo Egger. Do you love college basketball as much as I do? Then you will love Long Necks. They've got a great TV setup with 4K TVs all over the place, and the sound is always on for the big games. The beer selection is terrific, and if you tried Long Necks wings, you owe it to yourself. 3 locations in Northern Kentucky, each one of them very easy to get to: Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood. And keep in mind, when the weather gets warmer, each Long Necks location has an awesome outdoor setup. Long Neck Sports Grill. Stay late, come often.